Some Republican, or many perhaps, will be watching this, listening to this, and thinking, wait a minute, actually, you're the ones who are prosecuting us. You are the guys who are weaponizing the Justice Department. How would you respond to somebody who may be thinking that?
In what way? In what way? Is the very presence
Putting
of
Trump on trial would be their example, I suppose.
Yeah.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to kill ourselves, we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Oh, we got the bartender! The bartender in the building. Oh boy, we off that clear and that dark. That dark and that clear. Oh, we're crossfaded. Oh boy. What's going on, family? I hope everybody that is tuned in right now that you are blessed, well, and healthy. Your boy is back at it again. Once again, keeping it real, giving it to you straight. No sugarcoating it, calling it for what it is. And we have the one and only AOC. Senator Kennedy says there are reasons why there are instructions on a shampoo bottle for these kind of Democrats. Yeah, that came out of Senator Kennedy's mouth. He said it. I'm just going off what he said. There's a reason why there are instructions on a shampoo bottle. So let's go and get into it. This is going to be good.
Racial and other lines. It's real. And Democrats have talked a lot about what they maybe did wrong in the way that they spoke or the way they approached people or the way that they acted. But I want to flip that around a little bit. What do you think President Trump has done right that has appealed to traditional Democratic constituencies?
I think that some of his campaign promises, he does a good job of pairing what I would say some of the largest giveaways to the 1% and elites with very tangible policy promises.
No tax on tips.
Exactly. You take no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. These things sound great. They also directly appeal to very specific pockets of people who tend to be working class. And that creates a permission structure, right? You toss a crumb to us and you give the farm to the big fish. And I think he's very sophisticated in how he tailors those things together.
Some of those promises are things that Democrats themselves would like, capping interest rates on credit cards, to give one example. Has there been some discussion among Democrats that, I mean, you're almost a little envious? He's gotten ahead of you on some of these issues.
Well, the credit card interest rate cap is my bill from 2019 with Senator Sanders. And we're having some bipartisan momentum on it. Senator Hawley is interested in working with Senator Sanders and myself. I've also have been working with some Republican colleagues. But it is a signal that Republicans understand the trouble that they are in trying to pursue their own agenda in a very naked form. They need certain fig leaves, and they are sophisticated about that. But I think what people are seeing now is that increasingly they feel lied to, right? That these were campaign promises. Maybe they'll pass, maybe they don't, maybe they won't. But there is, I think, a slingshot effect that's happening right now when people are seeing the mass layoffs in the federal workforce, the cutoffs in life-saving resources.
Mind y'all, this was 8 weeks ago. This interview was 8 weeks ago. So I know some of y'all are going to be like, huh? Yeah, you know, after what we've seen have taken place just in the last couple of days with the Trump administration.
Search the the real discussions from Elon Musk calling Medicaid recipients and people who receive SNAP and other food assistance a parasite class. And I think people are realizing that the fig leaf was the fig leaf, and it wasn't actually, what's on the box wasn't what's inside.
You think the president has changed the subject effectively since he was elected?
I don't think he's changed the subject. I think he is who he's always been. But I think certainly some people feel that way.
I think of another aspect of this, though. Dean Phillips, one of your fellow Democratic members, was on television this past week, Fox News, as a matter of fact, and he appeared to wish Democrats acted a little more like Trump in this way. He wished that they would appeal to business people, to get smart people into government, to talk about efficiency. He seemed to wish Democrats would do what Elon Musk is doing, even if he doesn't agree with the way that Elon Musk is doing it.
I would say that instead of appealing to other politicians, we should be appealing to the American people. And if you ask the American people what they think of what Elon Musk and Doge are doing with government right now, they are vehemently opposed. The reactions right now are not just in Democratic districts, they're in Republican districts. Even Republicans in my district, they're saying, I voted for Trump. I did not vote for Elon Musk. I did not vote for this. I did not vote for mass buyouts of the federal workforce. We did not vote for the corruption of gutting NASA.
She just in up here lying. It's just fear-mongering lies. I mean, just the same propaganda rhetoric, same bull crap, man.
And then having the contracts go to SpaceX. We did not vote for Starlink to start replacing critical FAA operations.
Which is the thing that's in the news. It's being discussed. Okay.
Yes. And I think that there is a very, very deep corruption at the core of this. If Elon Musk wanted to divest himself of his businesses and enter public service with his so-called business expertise, that is his prerogative. But so long as he maintains a vested financial interest in gutting the federal government, he is acting in his own self-interest and not those of the American people.
I want to underline who we're talking about here, who you think is concerned about this. There are blue state voters who voted for Donald Trump. New York was more for Trump this time than in past elections. Your district was more for Trump than in past elections.
Look at her district. 70% high crime rate. An absolute disgrace in her district. And ma'am, just to let you know, FYI, just in case you don't know, they want you out of there, ma'am. They want you out of there.
Welcome back. The Bronx and Queens district, represented by New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has seen a 70% crime surge since she took office. That according to NYPD data. That is more than double the New York City average. Here's how AOC previously addressed the rising crime.
We are seeing these headlines about percentage increases. Now, I want to say that any amount of harm is unacceptable and too much. But I also want to make sure that this hysteria, that this doesn't drive a hysteria, and that we look at these numbers in context so that we can make responsible decisions.
New York.
Off to the next one, immigration. Watch how dumbfounded she gets on this. Oh, boy.
To what extent is immigration as an issue part of your problem with working class voters?
I mean, I guess my question would be, what does the word problem mean?
People voting for the other side and not for you.
Yeah.
Feeling that Democrats are not serious about the issue in ways that it concern them.
I think that we have a problem on immigration because of the lack of progress that we've had on this issue. And as we know, Republicans weaponized that lack of progress. Of course, there was famously a bipartisan bill last year that the Republican majority in the Senate and also in the House were willing to pass. President Biden was willing to work with them on it. And
No. The fellow was he wasn't in He was nowhere to be found. The White House was hijacked, ma'am. We're just now finding all this out, but them patriots already knew. Conspiracy theorists already knew. You know who was running the country for the last 4 years? They didn't want to work on nothing. Somewhere sitting on the beach, laid out cold. Other lady in the room, last one in the room, she say, and she in there laughing. In there laughing, playing, giggling, cackling.
Donald Trump said, do not solve this problem. As long as it is broken, then it will be politically beneficial.
They run with the same exact scam lie. The same thing, man.
For us. And so it is a problem not just for Democrats, it's a problem for the entire country that Republicans do not want to solve any sort of issue with immigration. They are completely uninterested in addressing undocumented people, in addressing a path to citizenship.
Well, they do want to address undocumented people by removing them. I mean, that's what the president is attempting now.
Even then, you see what Republicans did with the Lake and Riley Act recently in their passage with it, in that they authorized the complete gutting of due process. So now you can take a DACA recipient, a dreamer, just accuse them of a crime.
And deport them.
And however, they also understand that they don't even have the infrastructure to do that. So they're actually creating it's not even about creating a deportation pipeline. They are creating a private prison camp pipeline. So they're still creating pipelines to just increase this problem here in the United States.
This is just so, it gets worse and worse and worse. But this is why Democrats are where they're at now. This is why. And these are one of their members that's polling high as a so-called leader, you know, and the Jasmine Crockett and the Bernie Sanders, you know, they're right under that Kamala lady. But you know, after what's taking place this past week, it's not looking so good for her. You know, she's completely lost her mind after this whole Biden scandal. You know, her career, in my opinion, I think her career been over, especially being the VP of Joe Biden and the huge cover up. Yeah, it's just she ought to just go inside the house. You know, hopefully you paid it off. Hopefully you put some money away. You know, we know all y'all been going to the bank smiling anyways. You know, filthy, dirty politicians. Y'all off to the bank anyways. So hopefully you got it all situated. But I think her career is over. She ought to just remove herself from politics. Just saying. But you know, you just can't make this crap up, man.
United States.
Why do you think this issue did seem to be a political loser for Democrats among?
Where is the due process for those grieving families? What about their due process? What about that mom? You know, got people, senators going down there on taxpayers' dime to drink margaritas with the illegal criminal gang member. What about that mom that just lost her life? And not just lose, she was robbed and then they took her life. What about the young lady that was brutally raped and then took her life? Where's her due process? Kill me with this crap, man.
Key groups and key constituencies, if what you say is true?
I think that a lack of a path to citizenship in the United States, the lack of addressing comprehensive immigration reform, creates a large population of undocumented people in the United States. And that is allowed to be weaponized in many ways. We have a large population of undocumented people in the United States. Overwhelmingly, it is not because they crossed the southern border of the United States. It's because they came here in a documented fashion and overstayed a visa and became undocumented. And it is the lack of ability for us to expand paths to citizenship, modernize paths to citizenship over decades that create this bubbling issue that that Republicans are allowed to weaponize.
And you have voters in places like Arizona, which is a swing state that Democrats lost, or Colorado, which is generally a blue state, saying there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of lawlessness.
Yes.
I don't know what to do here. Who's looking out after me?
And I think when that is paired with divestment from the social safety net, when that is paired with lack of progress on minimum wage, when that is paired with rising costs of living, it sets the stage for a strongman to point to any marginalized group and say it's their fault, instead of looking at the gross income inequality that we have and its actual causes in the United States. And so that, I think, is the quandary that Republicans find themselves in.
Do you think there is a real risk of lawmakers being investigated, charged, arrested?
Potentially. I mean, we see that this administration is certainly wielding that threat, and we will have to see.
I want to see handcuffs. People with their hands behind their back.
If they intend on carrying out their threats, if they are to be believed for what they are publicly suggesting, then the answer would be yes. But we will only find out if we call their bluff.
Do you think other Democrats are watching their words?
I think it's certainly possible, but I'm not sure. I mean, I cannot think of or point to any individuals who have said that. I do think that there are Democratic members of Congress who are preparing for that possibility.
How do they prepare?
I think they look to the possibility of litigation. I think they're saying, do we have the best teams possible in order to carry out our work?
Some Republican, or many perhaps, will be watching this, listening to this, and thinking, wait a minute, actually, you're the ones who are prosecuting us. You are the guys who are weaponizing the Justice Department. How would you respond to somebody who may be thinking that?
In what way? In what way? Is the very presence
Putting Trump on trial would be their example, I suppose.
Yes. I mean, here's the deal. In the United States, there is a jury where we are judged by our peers, and he was found guilty in court on 34 felony charges.
34.
If people want to say it was weaponized, I mean, it
was, ma'am. A sham. Witch hunt. Kangaroos jumping on the freeway. Kangaroos at the intersection. Banana peels all out in the middle of the street. What Trump say? Not even Mother Teresa could beat these charges. Still don't know what the hell the crime is, still to this day. But guess what? Everything y'all tried to do, it didn't work. And guess who's your 47th president of the United States? Hell, the man won 3 elections. Yeah, the man won 3 elections.
Hard pressed to say that there's a partisan argument for that. You have Senator Menendez, famously.
Democratic senator from New Jersey.
Convicted, yeah.
And to 11 years in prison, I believe. We see over and over again that there has historically been an independent Justice Department whose job it is to be separate and apart from the presidency and the executive branch. Just because someone was held to an equal standard of the law does not mean that the Justice Department was weaponized. However, what is weaponization is that same previously independent Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney's Office now turning around saying, we are not the American people's lawyers anymore. We are the president's lawyers. And that is a dramatic shift. That is a dramatic change in the structure of our justice system.
It seems clear you would want to make a case then that this is a corrupt administration that's abusing power. Does the Democratic Party have some challenge in making that case, though, because of certain things that go on in the Democratic Party, or even in your state of New York, or your city of New York, where your mayor is Eric Adams?
Yeah.
Who was indicted until recently, just for starters.
Well, I think it is important that we be not hypocritical in that. I've called for Mayor Eric Adams, to resign or be removed if he refuses to do so. And this is what equal treatment in the eyes of the law means. It's that if you are a Democrat, if you are a Republican, we should both be held to the same standards. In fact, it's not even about the absence of corruption. It's the willingness to take corruption to account, to hold it to account, independent of one's party affiliation. And in Mayor Adams's case, what I think is transpiring is that, and again, what we saw coming out of the Southern District of New York, also in recent resignations and the letters that were made public, is that there was a pretty explicit quid pro quo arrangement that these attorneys saw in Mayor Adams approaching the Trump administration, saying, hey, you let me off the hook and I will exchange public policy implementation, which is just as damning not only for Eric Adams, it's also equally damning in terms of corruption of the Trump administration.
Is there another problem Democrats face because you would like government to work? And there's a broad perception, including among many liberals and progressives, that government doesn't work very well. It takes forever to build something in this country, to give a very obvious example. We do have a couple million federal workers, and a lot of people aren't sure how those people really touch their lives or do anything for them. Do you think government really isn't working well enough?
I think it's not just, it is about our society writ large is completely slanted so that the gains that we have go to the wealthy, go to the corporate class, go to the largest corporations in America who pay the least in taxes, and everyday working people who pay much higher percentages of their income in taxes, seeing the least benefit in society. And that is a governance problem. It is a social problem. It is an economy-wide problem. And I think the boiling rage that exists at this sense of injustice, that you are working 1-2 jobs, you are scared to go to the doctor because you don't think that you'll be even able to afford a blood test, that you're working tirelessly and you're not even making $8-9 an hour in a lot of places in this country. I think that is what we consistently see. And then on top of it, everything feels increasingly like a scam. That not only are grocery prices going up, but it's like everything has a fee and a surcharge. And I think that anger is put out at government. It is put out at a lot of different areas. And in terms of efficiency, our government can be tremendously efficient for the wealthy, but inefficient at times in delivering things for working people. That is not the same thing as justifying cutting the very few things that people actually interface with, going after the post office, going after the VA, going after Medicaid and Medicare. Those are two entirely different propositions.
Would you like a president to go in and break some china and mess things up, even if you don't like the way this president is trying to do that?
I think when we talk about breaking things, messing things up, I mean, to the FAA, no. To the NIH? No. To our ability to contain Ebola before it gets on a plane and comes into the United States? No. I don't want someone being reckless with the most critical infrastructure. I don't want someone being reckless, abandoning experimental medical devices that are implanted in everyday Americans who have no other recourse because their disease is so far progressed. I actually don't want someone taking a wrecking ball to someone's chemotherapy to just see what happens. Now, I do think that we can examine certain things like Medicare Advantage that I think is a scam, that in the name of so-called efficiency, ironically enough, we have handed over huge amounts of healthcare disbursements to private insurers who are pocketing it and giving less coverage to the people who receive this than ever before. Sure, yeah, let's go after that. But I don't think we just destroy everything that we have worked so hard for as a country to become innovative, to become just, to have some of the only lifelines that people have in this country to a roof over their head or food in their children's stomach. No, I don't think that we gamble with that.
Representative Ocasio.
All just a big front, man. Same talking points, the same lies, the same fear-mongering bias, misinformation, same propaganda, same Trump derangement syndrome, Musk derangement syndrome, same crap, man. You know, what do y'all think of this? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section, man. You just can't make this up. You just can't. But hey, we check it out. Now, I feel like I've wasted 20, 30 minutes of my life. But hey, y'all was here with me, so hey, it can't be that bad. The family was here with me. Can't be that bad. What do you think of AOC? What do you think of the bartender? Let me know in the comment section down below. I love y'all, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace and love, you guys.